Elvin Nyukuri, and I am lecturer as well as researcher at the University of Nairobi. And mostly my research has always been on climate change, security, climate change adaptation, and climate change resilience in the Horn of Africa. Climate change is a challenge in the sense that it is actually looked at as a multiplier effect. So there are other stresses that the region faces. So climate change is just but one of them, and then we have the conflict, and then we have issues of security, we have issues of terrorism and all that. So all these issues, the governments are struggling on which one to address, which is more of a priority, but they are all happening at the same time. They are all interrelated in a way. So climate change and security then remains a problem, because you then do not know which one should we address first and which one should you address, which one should be the priority and which one should come second, because they are all big problems facing the Horn of Africa. And so what you find mostly is the different interventions that are being carried out, but they are all being carried out in isolation, and yet they all need to complement each other in order to have a very comprehensive, and proper planning, so that we can at least address all these stresses at the same time. I think one of the key things that is actually emerging and which can really work is by us looking at, some of the aspects that address, conflict, as well as climate change, as well as security. So all the three combined. And one of the key things that we're looking at is looking at the peace agreements, for example, as a start. Can we start by looking at the peace agreements and how best can we address climate change issues, as well as security issues, as well as, livelihood issues, particularly in the Horn of Africa, and then try to address that using the peace angle. It's just one of the dimensions. There are other dimensions, but I think one of the key things that is working is the peace dimension, which I think if we do that and try to look at the different tracks in negotiation in terms of how to reach at peace, even the different tracks in terms of negotiations within the climate change arena and the different tracks within the security arena, so that will be a better chance for us to at least address the complexity, but in a much more holistic way. Yes, I think there are many ways. We need to dissect probably the peace agreement itself. So what are the main issues that are moving into the peace agreement? Who is on the table when we are actually drafting these peace agreements? For example, the root causes, you need to look at, for example, could land, for example, as a resource, have been the main issue that led to the conflict, for example? And so when you're looking at the resource as land, and so what led to people fight over that resource? Could it have been that climate change could have been the main, a driver for people to fight over that land because of the scarcity and all that? So within the peace agreement, we factor in issues such as land conflict, or water, or if it's infrastructure that led to the conflict in the first place. And then try to look at whether climate change, for example, has a bearing in some of these issues, right? So once you have that connection, then you have to bring it to the peace level. So the peace actors then need to find out, to actually understand first the root before they actually draft the key messages within the peace agreement. And of course, there's also the need to look at who are the actors on the table. Are these actors conversant with the issue of climate change effects in the first place, or are they leaning more on the peace side? So they need to make sure that they also understand the two sides of the stresses, so that if we have, and one of the ways we can do that is bringing on board people who have climate knowledge, for example, and those who have peace, so that they come together and have that let's say, is it interdisciplinary or inter-knowledge, that core co-creation in terms of how to create that peace agreement. I think that way is much better than having one side, drafting the peace agreement and not knowing what the other side is also thinking about.